21st of February 2023 will be etched in the memory of Vidit Gujrathi as a very special day. Why? Because he beat the world champion Magnus Carlsen for the first time ever in a tournament game. Now, Vidit has played Magnus many times. You all know he's played him in Magnus Carlsen's shortest game. He has had many winning positions over the board, also online chess, and every time he would either lose or draw the game. So this victory that happened is a big psychological breakthrough for him. Where did it happen? It was at the Pro Chess League, where Vidit was representing the team of Indian Yogis. Magnus was playing for ChessBrahs, and Vidit's win not only helped him, he gained confidence and a psychological breakthrough, but also helped his team beat the opposing team, which is always very special. The time control of the game was 10 minutes plus 2 seconds increment. Vidit had the black pieces, Magnus was white. So let's check out. Magnus opened with b3, Vidit played in the center, and it seemed like an equalish opening, but Magnus's knight first jumped to c4, then came into d6 and started creating some kind of a mess. At some point, both players started to make waiting moves. Like Magnus plays h3, Vidit plays bishop b6, and both didn't want to reveal their cards. And Vidit was somehow avoiding the exchange of his knight on f6. He didn't want to exchange it because then his king would be very weak. The rooks got traded, and then Magnus took an important decision of not trading the one rook and put it on c1. At this point, white has a small advantage, but then it started to get very nasty when the queen and bishop lined up to the h7 square. The critical moment came when Magnus put his knight on c5, and this was the moment where it seemed like, oh my god, this is over now. Because Vidit took the knight and unbelievably, Magnus missed a mate in 3. Can you spot it? White to play. So Carlsen went in with queen at 7, but it's still winning, but it's not the fastest way to finish the game. The right move was bishop takes g7, check, king takes, and then queen at 7. If king f8, queen h8 mate. If king f6, queen h6 mate. And Vidit would have lost that game, but as luck would have it, Magnus played queen at 7, Vidit could play f6, and then the game continued. It was still losing for Vidit. And there was a very nice point which I want to mention. Bishop to g6 in this position is winning. And you have to notice how it wins. King takes, and you play queen to g8. Now this move is so tough because you take away both the h7 and f7 squares from the king. You want to play knight h4 check, and then you want to get your queen out from h7. So imagine he plays queen f7, you give a check knight h4, king g5, and now queen h7, and the king is out in the open and it's going to get checkmated. That's how a beautiful line it was. But Magnus kept making subpar moves, and at some point he had to play knight h2, and he was still slightly better, but he blundered big time by playing knight e5 check. And knight e5 check is just a blunder because after fe5, bishop e5, he thought the knight is hanging on f4 and the pawn on g7. But in came with its move knight h5. It defended the pawn, it defended everything, and even g4 didn't help because knight f6 just protected everything. And after bishop f6, king f6, it looks like black's king is a little bit exposed or weak, but it is not. And in the end, Magnus tried in vain to sacrifice a pawn or so to try for an attack, but it was not to be. Vidit managed to get his pieces together, come together with the extra material, and win his first ever battle against the world champion. A huge kudos to the Nashik lad, and we hope that this is the start of many victories against the greatest player of all time. This is Sagar Shah from Dusseldorf, signing off.